Let's face it, figuring out which lens to bring on a wildlife trip can be a nightmare. We've all been there. You're out in the field, you've got a bag full of heavy lenses, and while you're switching from one to another, you miss the shot. An animal does something incredible, and by the time you've got the right lens on, moment is over. It's one of the most frustrating things in wildlife photography. So what if I told you that you could simplify all of that down to just one lens? A single lens that gives you the flexibility and the quality to handle almost anything you come across. After years of shooting in all sorts of conditions, from deep dark forests to the wide open savanna, today I'm gonna show you the one lens that I believe is the only one you really need. And the answer might not be what you expect. Before we dive in, if you are getting started or feel stuck in wildlife photography, you can download a free bundle with my Wildlife Photography for Beginners ebook, my complete guide to camera settings, and a new 10 weeks action plan to take your skills to the next level. I cover all the basics in there, from gear to settings, composition, and animal behavior. You will find the link down in the description. So, when you're looking for wildlife lenses, you're always fighting for the same things: reach, how much light it lets in, weight, size, and of course the price. You can get a huge 600mm prime and the sharpness is incredible, but it weighs a ton and has zero flexibility. Then you can get a lighter zoom, but the problem is often the aperture is too slow, which makes shooting at dawn and dusk really difficult. When I set out to find just one lens to do it all, I had to be really strict about what it needed to do. What does a single lens need to have to be the only one I take with me? Well, first, it needs focal range flexibility. It has to be wide enough for an environmental shot, but also long enough for an animal that's very far away. Constantly swapping lenses is how you miss moments. Second, a fast enough aperture. Wildlife doesn't care about good light. This doesn't mean always having 2.8, but some lenses that start at f8 or even lower are way too limiting. Third, sharpness. The image has to be sharp across the entire frame. For me, this is a non-negotiable if you want to make high quality prints. Fourth, really fast autofocus. Animals are unpredictable. The lens has to be able to find and track focus instantly without making a sound. And last, manageable weight. A lens is useless if you leave it at home because it's too heavy. This is a very difficult list of requirements, and it made me rethink some of the most popular lenses out there. Now let's take a look at what I could have chosen. I'm mainly going to talk about the Canon RF system because that's what I use every day, but these principles apply to any brand and I will mention some great alternatives. So, first up is the king of reach, the 600 f4. Optically, this lens is a masterpiece. The sharpness is incredible, but as a one lens solution, no way. It's a very specialized tool. It's quite heavy and the fixed focal length makes it totally inflexible for anything that is not far away. It's amazing for what it does, but it's very specific. The same would go for the 400 2.8, shorter, brighter, but still big, heavy and without flexibility. Then there is the lens many people would think is the obvious choice, the under to 500 f4.5 to 7.1. I really like this lens, I've recommended it for years. The zoom range is great, it's not too heavy, it's very sharp. It has only one big drawback for me, that variable aperture. I don't mind 4.5 at 100mm, but 7.1 at 500, sometimes it's quite limiting. When the light is fading and the leopard starts to move, 7.1 means I either have to push the ISO into a very high range or drop the shutter speed so low that I risk motion blur. It's a fantastic lens in good light, but it has this limitation. For Nikon and Sony users, it's a similar story. The Nikon 180 to 600 is f5.6 to 6.3, I think. It is incredible, especially for the price. And the same goes for the Sony 200 to 600. That's f5.6 to 6.3. They are both excellent lenses, but just like the 100 to 500, they compromise the aperture to get that incredible huge zoom range. So it feels like we are looking for something that doesn't exist, a lens that has the flexibility of a zoom, but the speed and quality of a prime. Well, almost. If I had to leave for a wildlife trip and could only take one lens to handle everything from dark forests to open plains, my choice today would be the 100 to 300 f2.8. I would pair it with the RF 1.4 teleconverter. Now I know what you're probably thinking. 100 to 300? Isn't that too short for wildlife? And isn't that incredibly expensive? The answer is yes to both, but hear me out. This is not just a lens, it's multiple lenses combined together. The combination of this with the 1.4 meets almost all my requirements. It solves the constant fight between reach, speed, and quality. With the 1.4 teleconverter, I have a 140 to 420 f4. What that means is I get a zoom range that covers the sweet spot for most wildlife, all at a constant f4 aperture. Performance with the extender, in my opinion, is fantastic. I've heard contrasting opinions, but with the 1.4 is still very, very good. You can reframe your shot in an instant as an animal moves, which you just cannot do with a prime. Then when the light goes really bad and you're deep under a forest canopy, you can take the extender off and go back to 2.8. That gives you a full extra stop of light over f4 and let you keep the ISO down and shutter speed to get clean, sharp photos in places where f5.6 or 7.1 would never do. The image quality, even wide open at 2.8, is basically the same as the prime lenses. It's just tack sharp and okay, it's not super light, but it's balanced very well and you can definitely hand hold it, especially with its very good image stabilizer. So this one lens and a small extender effectively replace a 300 f2.8 prime and a 400 f4 prime, and you also get the zoom flexibility in between. Now I have to be honest, no lens is perfect, not even this one. There are definitely trade-offs. The first and most obvious is the price. This is a huge investment and it's not going to be for everyone. Second, the reach, that even at 420 millimeters might not be enough if you're shooting small birds or very distant subjects. This lens does work with the 2 times extender, which makes it a 200 to 600 5.6, but there is a big drop in image quality that makes it a less ideal choice. For a lot of photographers, the pure reach of something like the 100 to 500 or the 180 to 600, the Nikon, is the better choice, especially if you shoot mostly in good lighting conditions. The 100 to 500 is much lighter and cheaper, and it's still a top tier choice if you need maximum reach and portability more than you need a fast aperture. It's a fantastic alternative, and I would still go for it over any lens if I need portability and flexibility over image quality. The only lens you need is a personal thing and it really depends on your budget and what you shoot. If you're a beginner or an enthusiast, you do not need to spend this kind of money. Something cheaper like the Canon 100 to 400 is a great choice that's lightweight, affordable, and it will give you very good results. For Nikon users, the Nikon Z 100 to 400 is f4.5 to 5.6. It's a brilliant pro level choice that it's a great balance between performance and price. For intermediate and advanced photographers on other systems, the Nikon Z 180 to 600 millimeters offers incredible value. The range and internal zoom make it a workhorse for almost any situations. And for Sony shooters, the Sony 200 to 600 is still the king of versatile super telephoto zooms, offering amazing performance for the money. Now, I'm curious, what's your favorite all-in-one lens? Let me know down in the comments. And remember that these are just tools. The important part is how we use them. Field time and lot of missed shot will improve your photography in a way that a new lens never could. So, thank you so much for watching, but now get out there and start shooting.